Millions of Social Security beneficiaries will be receiving their checks worth all the way up to $5,181. The average will be much closer to right the $2,000 mark. Plus, on top of that, Social Security's upcoming Trump bomb-driven 2027 COLA may actually lead to a silver lining for the millions of Americans receiving Social Security benefits. So, in today's video, we are going to be covering everything that you need to know. But first, before you buy anything else online, listen to this. You might just be leaving money on the table. You see, right now, Capital One Shopping is a free shopping tool that can automatically search for coupon codes, find better prices, and help you save when you shop online. And right now, my referral link has an offer for an $80 bonus for all eligible new users. No purchases necessary. So, if you want to see if you qualify, simply click the link in the description box below as well as the pinned comment below. It takes just a few minutes to sign up, and if you're already planning to shop online, it could definitely be worth checking out. So, again, in the description box below as well as in the pinned comment below, I will be leaving a link where once again you can sign up for Capital One Shopping, where under my offer you will be eligible for $80 and again, no purchase is necessary. So, we're going to go ahead and dive into for today. So once again, in less than 2 months, we have a COLA announcement being made by the Social Security Administration. This is set to take place on October 14th, barring a maybe like a government shutting down or anything like that like last year, whenever there was a slight delay in the COLA announcement. I do not foresee that taking place this year. However, this year the COLA actually may have a silver lining. So we're going to be covering everything that you need to know. So let's go ahead and dive into this article here from the Monthly Fool. They say for the last 25 years, Gallup has conducted annual surveys to gauge the importance of Social Security income to the average retired worker. These polls have consistently shown that 80 to 90% of retirees rely on their monthly payout to cover some of their expenses. Given how foundational Social Security income is to the financial well-being of our nation's aging workforce, few announcements are more anticipated than the annual cost of living adjustment reveal in October. Social Security's COLA is effectively an annual raise passed on to beneficiaries that attempts to offset the effects of inflation and ensure recipients don't lose purchasing power. So, for example, if a broad basket of goods and services that seniors' regular purchase rises in cost by 3% from one year to the next, Social Security benefits would need to climb by the same percentage to avoid a loss of buying power. Now, unfortunately, over the past 15 years, we've seen that Social Security beneficiaries have actually lost right around 20% of their buying power, because guess what may not be that big of a surprise. But these COLAs have not actually done that great of a job at keeping up with inflation. So, they go on here to say that in 2026, Social Security's more than 71 million recipients received a 2.8% boost to their monthly payout. While some degree of inflation is expected annually, this year's raise was influenced in part by President Donald Trump's policies. So, back in April 2025, the president unveiled his long-touted tariff and trade policy, which included a sweeping global tariff in dozens, clears throat of higher reciprocal tariffs on countries deemed to have unfavorable trade imbalances with America. Even though most of these tariffs were struck down by a February 2006 U.S. Supreme Court ruling, the modest inflationary impact these added duties had on consumer prices last year provided a boost to Social Security COLA. And what's really crazy about that, to me, at least in my opinion, is that these large companies that had to pay these tariffs, whether it be Apple, whether it be Walmart, they are there with the tariffs, even to pay more because of the tariffs. What they ended up doing is they raised prices on us. So, we had to pay more out of our pocket to ensure that the Walmarts of the world, that the Apples of the world remained at the same profit. But at the end of the day, Whenever the terrorists were struck down, it was Apple. It was the Apples of the world. It was the Walmarts of the world. It was the Targets of the world, the Costco of the world, the ones that were getting refunds from the federal government because of the tariffs. But us, the consumer, that actually had to pay more out of our pocket, we never received anything, so we had to pay more because of the tariffs, but we weren't even the ones that received the refund. So, that's quite ridiculous to me. They go on here to say that all of the president's April 2025 tariffs were overturned. This has not stopped the administration from imposing sweeping global tariffs using different justifications. Ongoing duties applied to selector imported goods will continue to exert upward pressure on consumer prices and modestly lift the prevailing inflation rate. However, the more prominent inflationary push is coming from the Iran war. So shortly after, Trump ordered attacks against Iran on February 28. The latter closed the Strait of Hormuz to virtually all maritime traffic. This effectively halted the flow of a fifth of the world's petroleum liquids, sending fuel prices soaring. These policies are expected to boost Social Security's 2027 COLA in historic fashion. So according to the latest estimates from the Senior Citizens League, a nonpartisan senior advocacy group, and Mary Johnson in an independent Social Security and Medicare policy analyst, next year's raise is projected to reach 3.6% and 3.4% respectively. The average of these estimates would be 3.5% and therefore would also tie for the sixth largest cost of living adjustment over the last 35 years. That is a crazy number. Furthermore, these independent estimates suggest that beneficiaries will receive a sixth consecutive year with a raise at or above 2.5%. The last time benefits grew by at least 2.5% for 6 straight years was from 1988 through 1997. But a Trump bump-driven COLA may not be the highlight of next year's raise for tens of millions of retired workers. What would be the silver lining, you ask? Well, they said that throughout much of the 21st century, Social Security income has been losing purchasing power. So, as I just mentioned a moment ago, a report published back in July of 2024 by TSTL pegged this loss of buying power at 20% from 2010 through 2024. And although several factors are responsible for this persistent loss of purchasing power, including inherent flaws in the consumer price index for urban wage earners and clerical workers, the inflationary measure used by the Social Security Administration to calculate annual COLAs, Medicare's Part B premium plays a meaningful role. So for well over a decade, the annual percentage increase for Part B premiums had outpaced Social Security annual COLAs with consistency. So for instance, Social Security's annual COLA is over the last 3 years of 3.2, 2.5, and 2.8%, pale in comparison to Part B premium hikes of 5.9, 5.9, and 9.7%. This dynamic means that Social Security recipients aren't receiving the full benefit of their annual raise. But based on the latest Medicare Trustees report, a silver lining appears to be in the cards for 2027 for the tens of millions of retired workers enrolled in 3.5% to $29.50 per month next year. Meanwhile, the two aforementioned independent Social Security COLA estimates call for benefits to rise by 3.4 or 3.6%. So for the first time since 2023, when the Part B premium actually declined by 3%, Social Security's COLA is projected to rise by a higher percentage than the Part B premium. Although this silver lining won't claw back decades of worth of lost purchasing power, it should allow tens of millions of retired worker beneficiaries to retain more of their cost of living adjustment in the upcoming years. Of course, that is a good thing because again, if you look over the past few years, the Medicare Part premium has been rising at a faster pace than the COLAs. even though you've been getting a net increase, even though they had. You figure in the COLA increase in dollar terms and the Medicare Part B premium increase in dollar terms, it still gets cut almost in half for a lot of folks receiving Social Security. So, it's going to be a positive to see that the Medicare Part premium rising at the same pace as it has over the past few years. Now, moving on to our next topic of today's video. And then of course are the checks going out later on this week, worth all the way up to $5,181. So, according to Newsweek, they say that Social Security payments are generally issued according to a beneficiary's date of birth. People born between the 1st and 10th of the month are paid on the 2nd Wednesday of each month. Those born from the 11th to 20th are paid on the 3rd Wednesday. And those born from the 21st to 31st receive their payment on the 4th Wednesday. This week, payments will be made on Wednesday, August 19th, for those with birthdays falling between the 11th and 20th of any given month, and following Wednesdays. Payments, another round of infants, will be issued on Wednesday, August 26th, next week. For those with birthdays, fall between the 21st and 31st of any given month. Now, of course, SSA advises beneficiaries who do not receive a payment when expected to wait 3 additional working days before contacting the agency. As far as how much Social Security is, retirement benefits are determined by a claim's earnings recorder and the age in which they claim, which they choose to start collecting payments. Eligible workers may start claiming benefits from age 62, although that will result in lower monthly payments than waiting until their full retirement age or later. So, in 2026, someone who earned the maximum amount subject to Social Security taxes throughout their career could receive approximately $4,152 a month if they claimed at their full retirement age. Starting benefits at the age of 62 would lower the payments to about $2,969, while waiting all the way until the age of 70 could raise it to roughly $5,181 a month. However, of course, as I mentioned just a moment ago, most retirees receive well less than the maximum amount. The average monthly Social Security pay retirement payment is $285.99 as of July this year. So once again, the average check going out later this week right around $285. However, in just less than 2 months on October 14th, we are going to have the announcement for the next Social Security increase, which right now, according to the most recent projections, is sitting at right around 3.5%. So, with that said, leave your thoughts and comments below about everything that we discussed in today's video.